Alright. Looks like things are back. I forget what the fuck I was doing. Alright. Okay. Weird. Yeah, well, Nick, that's how it is. I was offline for quite a bit there, though. So. Where were we? Talking about how awful Russia is and the KGB and wait, are these? Oh, they're already level 3. Frick. I don't think that that's what was going on there, Nick, but I like your spin on it. Wait a second. I don't have it. I don't really need the blood bag. Yeah, no, that's fine. We can talk about it. I'm not upset about talking about it. You silly little fuck. I'm just blasting rats with lightning. But another thing, that I do want to talk about on stream is that I I want to mention that I think as you all know, I have slowed down on my streaming schedule quite a lot. However, I still want to be a content creator and do all the content creation stuff. But I think that I might switch into more video production and less streaming. That's a little stinky. Well, I'm not gonna lie to you. No one shows up to the streams anymore. I don't know how else to put this. Like, and I do mean nobody. So clearly my strategy is not working as intended. And if I'm honest with you, I only have so much time in a day. So I'm thinking that at this time, it might simply be a better idea to do that. Well, so it's both, Nick, at the same time. It's both a hobby and for fun, but also because if I'm putting in this much effort, I would like something to come out of it at some point. But a dude's gotta be honest, you know what I'm saying? Oh, son of a fucker fuck. They're taking the warlock. Well, I'm not saying I'm gonna quit. I'm just saying it's gonna be less. Like, I know that you haven't really been showing up too much, so you probably wouldn't know, but in the past, so with the exception of this week and a little bit of last week, I was streaming like once a week for about 3 weeks there. And I gotta tell you, it was nice. Sorry. He is in school and has a full-time job at the same time. He still pops up every now and then. But like, if I'm being real with you, Nick, not having anyone here, it makes it boring. Like, I have a ton of fun when everyone's here. Like, this right now, what we're doing right now, this is why I do this. Is because this is super fun. I like this a lot. Wait, what do you mean that's level 3? But it's just not happening as frequently as I need it to. Like, for me, to continue having fun. So that's what's up. Oh my god. I need more wizard. Oh, well, ask and you will receive, I suppose. Oh, it's because of the random level up thingy. I think I'm gonna get hit this round. Yeah. Fuck. Well, good. You should feel bad, fucko. Oh, no. Come on, man. Oh, I really doofused that one up big time. Yeah, he just nuked the fuck out of my backline, and I can't do nothing about it. Fuck. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Son of a flip. Alright, I'll be right back, and then we'll do one more run. Oh. Oh! Oh! Alright, who's here? Only the real ones are here still, I bet. How many of you are real ones? Did I unlock the King of Nature? Yes! Dude, just put it up there when I double click it. What the hell? Yes, the shepherd is black. Or back, I mean. Hmm. Oh, great. Oh, great. Nick, you don't gotta explain, brother. I already understood. And it's okay, too. Like, I wasn't trying to make you feel bad. I was just trying to say, this is the reality of the situation. Oh, that was a joke, silly. You silly little peepus. Nick, don't be that way. Come on, little buddy. You'll always be my little buddy. Always go for the demon altar. Every time, no matter what. Fuck the king agreed. I hate that guy. What happened to the gang? Which gang? The regulars. Well, I mean, Christian shows up most nights. But other than that, nobody. Like, that's just how it's been, brother. It has been slim pickings. I haven't seen Brosum in a while. what happened. I don't know. They dead, bro. Edge. Yeah, well, that's how it is. These blood scrubs. Need more bodies. How am I holding up? I'm doing very, very good, actually. We're only 2 months away from the wedding, so that's always nice. Super excited about that. Which will also include my honeymoon that I'm very excited for. Got a small raise at work. Yeah, things have been going pretty well. We're going to Salem, Massachusetts for our honeymoon. During like the peak spooky season. It may be, but I don't care. You know why? Because it's fun. Maybe you need to get out of your stuffy room every now and then, Nick. No, normal people can't afford to go to Hawaii, Nick. That's just not a thing that happens for most people. Like, brother, I hate to tell you this, but the economic situation for the average person in the United States right now is not good. What the fuck is that, bro? For real? That's so awful. I just subbed, so you should be good. Yeah, you got my back, Jack. At least I know you got me. When did I get depressed? What are you talking about? I'm feeling good. Oh, sorry. Yeah! Yeah! Whoa! Rock and roll! How's the kids? I don't have any. How's work? What do you mean? I just told you. Alright, brother. So, like I told you, work is what it is. No kids. House good. Well, I can't elaborate on the work. You know I'm not allowed to do that. Still the same job as before. Oh my. You were the HR. Yeah, I'm the HR. You're the accountant. Correct. That was the meme. Damn, dude, that one takes me back. Holy shit. You made me reach back into the fucking memory bank for that one. Jiminy Christmas Christ. Sweet heavens. Football's about to start. As you know, I'm the big football man. Still working out on a daily basis. I actually just joined a new gym. Man, how do I catch you up? There's so much. Just speak what's on your heart. What's on my heart is politics. 24/7. And I really mean 24/7. I'm constantly thinking about politics at this point. Well, yeah, no, I know you. I didn't dip on purpose. Like, the stream died, and I have. What do you want from me? Frick it. Oh my word. Oof. That didn't go so well. Yeah, but that's the thing. They won't let him join NATO. Nick, they're just not letting him. Why don't we talk about a funner topic? How do you feel about the idea of a CEO pay cap multiplier instead of minimum wage increase? The CEO pay cap multiplier is the idea that you have a set amount. Okay, so let's say, for example, you have the lowest paid full-time employee in your company. Okay, and they get paid $40,000 a year. You could set a CEO pay cap multiplier that would make it so that they can only make, let's say, 10 times that. So you limit them to $400,000 per year. No, it would only help poor people. It's Godzilla. Dude, how did they kill them all instantly? Am I fricked again? Damn. I'm fricked again. Man, today was this new difficulty is like actually crunked. I kind of hated this run though, if I'm being honest. Outsource their employee base. It depends on how you structure it. Like, I'm all for the idea of completely screwing over rich people. Fuck them. That's the level that I'm at. And let me explain to you exactly why. Here, hold on. We got a little chat that we need to have. Allow me to explain myself. No, I am very capitalist, Nick. Very capitalist. Let me make that extraordinarily clear. What was I about to look up? What were we talking about? Rich people. Ah, yes. Do 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 do. This is even better. Here. Alright. There you go. See how the wealth distribution in pre-revolutionary France matches up almost perfectly with the wealth distribution in the United States? Isn't that interesting? And here's the even more interesting part. This was 2016, so about 10 years ago. It's actually gotten worse since then. So, yeah, that's awful fun, isn't it? Well, I don't want to eat anybody. I'm not a cagamel, but it wouldn't be that bad. Here's another chart as to why I have a problem. Let me see if I can find it. Yes, here we go. This is from the Economic Policy Institute. My favorite source of information recently. Look at that. See that right there? See that? So this bar that goes crazy upwards is the productivity level of employees per capita. This hourly pay graph right here, as you can clearly see, has barely increased at all. Which means that even though people are working way harder, they're getting paid comparatively much less. Okay? Hold on, though. We're not done this wild ride yet. Here's one of my absolute favorites. Okay? This right here is how much CEOs make compared to the average employee. So, and keep in mind, this is all from the Economic Policy Institute, which is a nonpartisan research, government research group, and this is what they do. They analyze economics. They do research on economics, and in their research, what they report is that in 1965, which is when I would consider to be the strongest American economy we've ever had, between 1965 and like 1975, was the strongest we've ever been as an economy in our nation. With the exception of maybe the 90s. I could understand if somebody would make the argument for the 90s. But as you can clearly see, it was about 20 times on average what a CEO would make compared to the average employee at their company. Then it starts going up a little bit, until we get to now, where it's even 2021. So a little bit old information at this point, but I'm sure it looks pretty much the same. 398.8 times as much as the average employee. And Nick, here is the part where I counter what you said. You said, well, yeah, but aren't the rich people just going to leave or outsource their labor? Well, you say that, but they didn't leave when they were making 20 times as much. Like, I'm not saying set it to 5 or 10 or even 20. I want a 25 times CEO pay cap multiplier. That's what I want. That's all that I want. I think that sounds fair. Because you can convince me that they are twice as valuable, 10 times as valuable even. You can even maybe convince me that they are 25 times more valuable than the average employee. However, you can't convince me that they work 398 times more hard or more productively or more efficiently or more valuably than the average employee. You can't convince me. There wasn't a law that said they couldn't earn more. So what? They didn't. So who cares? Just because the only reason that this is where it was because they introduced a minimum wage that gave them no choice at the time. And also, there's a couple of reasons business-wise why this is just a better idea. So, when it comes to business in the United States, one of the biggest things that we've seen recently is that people who are in these CEO positions, back when they weren't paid a huge, huge portion of the company's money, they were more focused on long-term goals, long-term growth, and stability in their businesses. And that is something that would be another side effect, is that they would have to make more calculated, intelligent, informed decisions in the long run to ensure that they have a business to work at. Please don't misunderstand this. I am in no way on the side of CEOs, but putting a percentual pay limit will not solve the issue. Yes, it will. Tell me why it won't. I would love to hear why it won't cause a problem or cause a change, a solution. How it won't solve the problem. Also, keep in mind, I'm not advocating for just this by itself. I also want to make it illegal to transfer certain amounts of money out of the country. Correct. Well, yeah, but then they don't have any employees, Nick. You don't understand. You can't outsource a janitor. Like, there are low-level employees that you simply cannot outsource. It's just not possible. Oh, or are you saying they're going to outsource it to a third party? Is that what you're saying? Okay, so they're going to outsource it to a... When you said outsource, I thought you meant send it to another country. No, I got you. So here's exactly why it will still fix the problem, Nick. When they go and hire that cleaning company still has these rules applied to them. So at some point in the line of labor, in the labor chain, somebody has to pay them a fair wage that is no more than 25 times what the person who is in charge of the business makes. It will help everybody, Nick. See, I'm not trying to raise people at the top. I don't give a fuck about them. I'm trying to raise up the people at the bottom. I don't give a fuck about rich people, and I'm tired of pretending like I do. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of pretending like we need to treat them super special fare. Because they don't do anything. They don't help. Because you can hire smaller cleaning companies where the boss isn't a billionaire yet, so they don't care much about the limit. Yeah, see, but that's fine. I want to encourage that. And you're also underestimating certain things like wanting to have business liability coverage. Like, for example, let's say I'm just going to say something completely out of my mind. Let's say you have an outsourced janitor and that they don't have any kind of insurance because they're from a really small company and their insurance rates suck and everything about them sucks because they're so small and they can't respond quickly to like cleanups. And someone slips, falls, dies. Family sues the piss out of the company because the janitor didn't get there on time. You're still going to want to target, like, there's no way that you can frame, like, the situation where that would be an issue that I think wouldn't be addressed by this is very small chance of happening. Very small. And you can totally phrase the law in a way where they can't just do that. Like the US, we actually have what's called a highly compensated employee. Um, and the highly compensated employee rule for salary and compensation would kind of help out a little bit here. So how the rule works in the US, this is a federal rule, not just like a PA state rule, is that if somebody is within the top 20% of your pay, they are considered a highly compensated employee. And because of that, they're entitled to a certain legal limit of what you're allowed to pay them. Well, you just have to make that illegal too, then. Like, see, Nick, I don't care how many hoops I have to jump through to make this work and make it effective. Every single hoop must be jumped through. Lumpy, can you not see that I'm talking about policy here? Make what exactly illegal? For no. To form a company. So actually, technically speaking, Nick, what you're talking about right now is already illegal in certain ways. So for example, we have a thing called shared employment here in the United States, and this is the law already. Um Say I own a business, okay? And I want to fire all these employees and hire them at my shadow business, okay? What happens is I start that business, eyeballs that is. Oh, I see. But anyway, so if I start that business, I have what's called shared ownership with that business. So if the employees at that shell shadow business work at my other main business, they're considered employees of the same thing. It's how shared employment works. So no, you actually, that's already, I don't even have to come up with something new. Yes, that is illegal. And well, it's not illegal. It just makes it so that they're treated as the same employees. And the reason that this is a thing that they decided to do is because when overtime rules were put in place and they invented people getting paid overtime, a bunch of people tried to do exactly what you are suggesting that they would do. So they made it illegal to do that. So, like, let's say, for example, you have a shell company that's set up. so that you can make somebody work more than 40 hours per week and try to avoid them paying them overtime, that's illegal because of shared employment, shared ownership, common ownership. What if the work doesn't have to be done in-house? Like what? A business has to have employees somewhere in the chain, Nick. IT stuff or something. What do you mean? I'm confused about your question. Can you try to rephrase it? By a big CEO company with many employees who do things on computers. Now your law gets passed. Okay. So now I make many other companies and put the former employees in that company. Are they still doing work for the primary company? No, you can't say it's contracted, Nick. There's a lot of really strict rules about who can and cannot be considered a contractor in the United States. So this is a major problem in the US, and the major problem that I'm about to discuss is that Americans are so undereducated about what their labor laws are and what their rights actually are that most of the time a company can outright, bold-faced, straight up break the law, and the person doesn't know their rights, so they don't know that they have a defense, and they never tell anybody about it. So, like, you might have a lot of people in the United States who are, we call it 1099. 1099 over here means a contractor, which means they're not fully an employee. They're on working on a contract, either from another company or privately themselves. A lot of people are misclassified as 1099s so that the company doesn't have to do things like pay payroll taxes, deduct Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security taxes out of their account, and they also aren't legally required to provide benefits to 1099 employees. However, most of those 1099 employees are what we call misclassified, and they shouldn't actually be listed as 1099 employees. But the problem is, many of these 1099 labeled employees don't know that it's illegal for them to be labeled as a 1099 employee. And because they don't know that that's illegal, they never tell anyone or report it or go to the cops or go to the labor board or anything. And the real problem here is that employees are just, Americans in general are just really undereducated on labor law. Straight up. That's a little confusing. It is confusing, but I'm an HR professional, so I have to know these things. But yeah, it's a little it's a little stinky when it comes to knowing. But the thing is, in the US, if you ask questions like that, you're probably going to get fired. So most people tend to just be in the unfavorable situation that is illegal instead of getting fired. Yeah, so I've already thought about that, Nick, and I'm thinking that you make it so that anything like, say they get a jet, that must be counted as compensation. It must be counted as part of the pay cap. I'm thinking any exchange of material possessions stock, equity, property, or anything of marketable value. Well, you can't do that, Nick, because then you run into the problem of also having shared ownership. They make it really complicated on purpose, Nick. Like it's pretty ironclad, pretty tight. Like it's not a joke the way that these laws are set up. It's just a matter of actually enforcing the rules. And here in the US, most of the law is structured around when somebody reports something, that's when you have to go and adhere to the actual rules. However, if nobody knows the rules, nobody can go to the labor board and complain. Hey, so I'm the CEO of Pfizer and I get paid 2 cheeseburgers, but I get 10 mils from this random ass foreign country for no reason every month. Hee 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 hee. So I think that we base this off of total compensation instead of just whatever they say their compensation is. And also, I mean, sidebar here, but I also want to make it illegal for foreign countries to transfer money into people's bank accounts in the US. Like, I want to put serious, heavy limits on people being able to do things like that. Now we're putting up a lot of laws. You're goddamn right. We need to change the system majorly to fix things in the United States. Here, hold on. There's one more thing I gotta show you. And it is recklessly irresponsible. God damn it. Where the fuck is it? Yes. Perfect. So here is exactly what I was looking for. So I want you to keep in mind, Nick. Oh, I agree with you, Nick. Like, it would be really hard to pass these laws. This is what I want to happen, not what I expect to happen. So right here, in 1970, $1 was equivalent in purchasing power to about $8.33 in 2025, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Price Index, which means that $1 today is worth what? 18 cents in 1970 money. Okay? So, what we need to do, and I'm going to do the calculations for you right in front of you. Let's do the average man working full time. So this is 1970 money. All right. So let's go 1970. And was that Canadian dollars that I just saw? No, it's USD. Okay. Amount. Okay. Calculate. What do you mean enter a number? 9180. There we go. So it's $76,432 in today money. But then we have to adjust for purchase power. Okay? So let's go back to our $8.33. So you have to adjust per dollar for that. Essentially, I've seen the math. I can't find it right this second. But essentially, the minimum wage the median wage of $9,180 was equivalent to like $66 per hour in today money. That's exactly correct, Alphonse. You 100% got the point. Yeah, Nick, you have it backwards, silly goose. The main flaw is still that people are capable. Oh, yeah, I already read that one. But yeah, no, the problem is like triple fold here because you're getting paid less, your money is worth less, and no one wants to make a move. Like, quite frankly, if they actually wanted to make things better, what they should do is they should immediately either add the CEO pay cap multiplier that I've been talking about the whole time, or, well, I guess, or make the minimum wage like $35 per hour. And I don't give a fuck if rich people are poorer because of it. I'm sorry, I just don't give a fuck. Yes, they do, Nick. But the important thing is there is a path forward to solving those problems and flaws. And this is what I think we should start with. Like this is stop number 1. Stop number 1 is fixing wages. Because everything else comes from that. Everything else comes from people having more disposable income. Like the US economy works as well as it does because over time, I mean, because people have disposable income to buy dumb shit with. That's why our economy works. Regardless of what other people want to pretend to be the case, it's just how it is. It's hard to convince rich people being a little less rich after all that. Oh, I don't care if they wanted alpha. Like, I'm at the point of using a guillotine. I don't give a fuck what they want. You would need that, Nick, unless you use the guillotines. Like, honestly, do you know what I think one of the biggest problems in the US right now is? And this is going to sound a little extreme, so just follow me on this one. It, it used to be the case that if the CEO, okay, if the CEO went and gave himself a fat raise at the end of the year at Christmas and gave nothing to the employees, it used to be that people who work at the company would show up in masks and beat him within inches of his life in front of his wife and children. Okay? People aren't doing that anymore, and now this is the case. I'm just saying, I think they need to be a little bit more afraid. I am right with you on that. That when I am voting far left for the first time in my life, I have nothing left to lose. I have been voting far left. Well, let's be. Wait, Alphonse, I can't remember. Are you in the U.S. or are you in the Netherlands? I can't remember off the top of my head. Or is it Belgium, maybe? I feel like you were from Netherlands or Belgium or the U.S., but I cannot remember. I'm Dutch, but you remembered well. I got you. The thing is, in the U.S. at least, I can't speak for the Dutch, but in the U.S., the problem is we don't have a far left choice. It literally does not exist. It's not we don't have that. Like a lot of conservatives and like the Republicans will try to frame it like the Democrats are far left. But let's be real, the Democrats are moderates. They are slap in the middle. They are total centrists. Well, there you go, Alphonse. That's kind of how we are over here. That's the story of everyone in the US right now. And you get a lot of people like, dude, it's always about the money in the US. It's always about just the money. If their middle class is big, robust, and stable and healthy, and everyone has money to afford the shit that they need, nobody gives a fuck if there's billionaires and millionaires. But the problem right now is that no one can afford those things. Based off the Dutch system, alright. That's a deeper conversation that we're not having tonight, but I don't agree with you there. That isn't inherently violent in nature, but that really can't be what we're going for here. Well, see, the thing is, it has to be targeted. It can't just be indiscriminate violence for no reason. You know? Like, I don't want to kill people. Ever. Ever under any circumstance. I would never advocate for death. I want to advocate for fear of that. Like, I want people in power to be afraid again. Oh, that's what you meant, Alphonse. Yeah, okay. I can kind of agree with you there on that one. No, 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 Alphonse, you don't even need to share the video. I already agree with you and understand on that. I thought you were talking about something else because we you can be based on like common law or it's common law or I forget what the fuck the other one is, but we're not common law. We're the opposite of common law. I thought you were talking about our legal system. So just forget I said anything. I misunderstood you. Um but yeah, no, I think that it's not possible to fix these problems without at least the threat of people getting violent. And I'm sorry, like as cool I think so here's the thing. I think that BLM got really close to making them scared again. Right? Like I think that we during COVID and during the BLM protests across the US, I think that these rich motherfuckers were actually a little bit scared for once. How about more peaceful strikes? Yeah, because those totally work, right? Like, listen, I'm all down for peaceful protest and everything, but I'm sorry. We have been trying that for like 30 years and gotten fucking nothing but a kick in the teeth. It just hasn't worked in the modern age because there's no fear anymore. Like, I mean, dude, some of the rich people in the US, they have practically a private military to protect themselves with now. And I don't know how the fuck that's legal. It shouldn't be legal, but it is because they get to influence what laws get passed. It just drives me fucking nuts. It drives me absolutely fucking nuts. But back to the core thing that we were just talking about, Nick, I wanted to address something is that I was saying that a lot of Americans are just uneducated about what the labor laws in the US are. And my favorite example of this is the Equal Pay Act of 1968. Okay? The Equal Pay Act of 1968 explicitly makes it illegal to pay people a different wage based on their gender or any other discriminable characteristic. And yet, there's still a pay gap, and yet people still don't get paid the same amount because of their gender or race or whatever. But the problem is they don't know who to report those problems to. And if they try to report those problems, they are going to get fired. I get that, Alphonse, but there was a time where it didn't matter that they had security. The entire factory's employees were going to show up and beat the shit out of you. There was fear where they were going to show up and firebomb your house, and there were no cameras around to catch them doing it. How about government mandated unions? I don't like unions. As much as a surprise as that may be for you. I was a part of a union for my first job when I worked at a grocery store, and it was the biggest pile of fucking bullshit I've ever had to deal with in my entire life. Like, I think unions can have a time and a place where they are effective and useful, but I think that the bigger a union is, the less valuable to the average worker it actually is. Because how I've noticed it in the US is that once these unions get big enough to the point where people are getting paid just to be the union boss, they no longer give a fuck about actually defending anybody's rights. They just care about collecting their dues. And I think that's bullshit and doesn't help anybody. Yeah, see, I don't like that, Nick. I think that the individual right to negotiate is important. Like I really if I could just snap my fingers and choose to alter the world into one form of society, I would choose a meritocracy, and I mean that purely, like a pure meritocracy. Whoever is good succeeds, whoever is bad doesn't. Yeah, but the thing is, you don't have to have a government mandated union in order to do that, Nick. You can have a board of labor that handles those issues, which is how it is in the US. And I actually think that that's better. How is that better? Like I just said, it maintains your ability to. Apparently, it doesn't work very well. No, it works very well when people report problems. The problem is that nobody's reporting the problem. Or they don't even know that something's a problem most of the time. Like, for example, I just mentioned the Equal Pay Act of 1968. And because people don't know that they can make those claims, they just don't. Yeah, I think that the main problem for every single flaw in the United States is a lack of education and being informed. I think that the number one most important thing we could possibly do as a country is make education more accessible. And when I say make more education more accessible, I really mean make it more accessible. Like, for example, something that I have a huge problem with is how hard it is to actually access research papers. Like, you have to pay journals in order to actually read research a lot of the time. And something about that inherently bothers me. I didn't know you had something as a labor board. Yeah, we do. Eh, So it's actually super thorough in the US because in the US we have statewide labor boards, citywide labor boards, and then we have a federal labor board. And you can go to any of those three with your problem and they will help you. And the federal labor board, they have branches in all over the country. Education needs to be changed right now. It's how to get as many people into the factories, not to mention good luck getting the job you studied for. I don't think okay, this is going to turn into a whole can of worms. When I say access to education and information, I'm not necessarily talking about putting people in colleges. And let me be very clear with my opinion. I really do believe in only providing help for people going to a college education or going to the college level if they can demonstrate that they're worth investing money in. When people do an apprenticeship here, it's mandatory you go to vocational school where there's a separate subject for your rights as a worker. We do not have that here in the United States, Nick. It does not exist. Period, full stop. Like, Alphonse, let me be clear. I think that you should have to test and pass testing in order to get into a school, and then how well you do on those tests and how well you do each semester while you're in school should determine whether or not you're supported by the government. However, I do believe that about 50% of people who manage to stay in college should have it fully funded. Well, see, Alphonse, that's not the case. It isn't that they do not want people to know how the system works. Like, for example, anybody can enroll in a law course. Anybody can take legal classes. Those are accessible to everyone. What the problem isn't that there's people who don't want you to know that. Most of the schools in the US are actually private. And because these schools in the US are private, they get to determine their own curriculum. And that's actually beneficial in preventing corruption like that. Sure. Yeah, of course you do, Nick. You're totally right. You totally could hire an expert who knows how to do whatever. Well, no, you definitely will become a tax expert as a common citizen if you go to school for accounting. It's actually a pretty good process in the United States. Like, you have to pass tests and everything to become a CPA. It's not easy. Oh, you mean you're just not gonna know as a random person, is what you mean? Well, yeah, of course, but that's the case everywhere. And I don't expect everybody to. My goal here isn't to make everyone an expert of everything. It's to make the experts more valuable, influential, and easy to create. Like, I want more experts. Like, for example, something that this is a double-edged sword. I have feelings both ways on what I'm about to say, so this isn't a set in stone belief that I have. But something that really annoys me about American colleges is that you'll enroll in a subject and they'll make you take a bunch of stupid fucking bullshit classes that have nothing to do with what your major is. And I mean, like, dude, I met this one guy. He was a chemistry student, and his school forced him to take a culinary arts course in order to hit all of his electives and stuff. And I'm like, why the fuck do you need to have that knowledge in order to get a degree in chemistry? Like, I think that that's what high school should be for. High school should be, well, K through 12 in the United States should be to teach you those basic life skills and like those basic concepts of education that you could apply when you specialize going to college. But I think that college should truly be the ultimate specialization tool. So I don't, it really bothers me that colleges are treated like, well, I mean, you guys wouldn't know because both of you aren't from the US. But I personally, as somebody who's been to 3 different colleges, 3 different higher education facilities and completed a master's degree at a graduate school. I feel that bachelor's degrees in the United States right now are just an extension of the high school education system in the US. Like, I'm sorry, but you should be able, as an average person, to complete a bachelor's degree so long as you have the resources and time available to you to do so. Like, mentally, you should be able to pass a bachelor's program in the United States without super large amounts of effort. The thought is probably that you don't want people to know a little of many different subjects. No, I know that that's what it. I'm saying that I don't want that. I think that's stupid. We have stupid stuff here too. I speak and write English very well, but if I wanted to go to school and learn a trade, I have to sit in class and pass tests of English. Like, what the fuck? It's a waste of time to be forced to learn stuff I already know. Well, here in the US, they actually have a system around that. You can do things in most schools here in the US where you can take a test, demonstrate that you have the knowledge of the subject, and and then you just have to pay for the credits as though you were taking the class, and they won't force you to take it. Yeah, seriously, dead ass. They're called skill exams. Like, for example, as a psychology student, I had to take certain math courses like statistics and intro to research methods and things like that. I had the option, if I wanted to pay for the class, like pay the class price, and just take a test and just get the credits if I pass the test with a high enough score. And honestly, I think that's a good system. My sister's 36 years old and she speaks Dutch for 34 years, and she is forced to do Dutch exams again to work in her new job. It's horseshit. Yeah, well, I mean, that's how it is sometimes, man. But either way, I think that the main point of what I want to get across here is that I don't think that everyone should just have free college, you know? I think that people who have worked hard through the K through 12 school system and have demonstrated that they are worth investing taxpayer dollars in, those people should get a free college education. That's what I think. Because I think that in the US, the higher education system has been so watered down now at this point that people have to get a bachelor's degree in order to have a chance, a bachelor's degree or a license to do a trade, one or the other, in order to have any chance of making a buck in the US. Like, gainful employment. In order to get gainful employment, you have two paths: go into a trade and become licensed to do that, or go into college and get a bachelor's degree at a minimum. And that's the only way. No, I agree with you, Nick. I actually, Alphonse, I think that standardized education is extremely important. Standardized education. See, this is the problem. I don't think that you should force people to finish the standardized education past high school, but I do think that we should offer taxpayer funded educations to those who deserve them. Because I'm sorry, but I actually do believe that there is a difference between people who should be going to college and people who shouldn't be going to college. And I think that the difference is very obvious, very clear, and very apparent. But I mean, and for the people who say that we shouldn't have free college, at least for some people, I mean, at the very least, I want those people to agree to the idea that we should put laws in place that force loan companies to not go above a certain percentage for interest. I think that's the bare absolute minimum that we should be doing right now. I agree with you, Alphonse, on that one. I think that at a higher education level, it should be more specialized. Elementary school is standardized and basic. For high school, you can actually choose a basic one or a more challenging one, not here in the US. And then you can pretty much do whatever you want. And I think that's beautiful. See, in the US, you can't choose what high school you actually want. You can. It's based on where you live. And that causes even more problems for the education system in the United States, because since it's based on where you live geographically, which school you go to, the taxes that people pay for schools in the US are based on property, like geographic location of property. So in all of the nice areas, all of the nice neighborhoods, what happens is those rich people pay all their taxes to the nice rich people school. And then at the poor people area, the poor people pay property taxes to the school, to the local school. So it makes it so that the rich schools have shitloads of money for the rich kids to go and learn, and the poor schools have no money for the poor kids to go and struggle at. And we just need a complete overhaul of that system if we're going to ever hope of fixing anything ever. Like, how is it possible that school taxes are only tied to property taxes? It's so fucking stupid. Our higher education is also very focused on whatever major you pick. Yeah, for the most part it is here in the US too. I mean, of course it varies school to school, but for the most part here in the US, the higher education is focused on what major you choose. That is insane. Federal government should use national taxes to fund schools. I agree. You just said a chemist had to take culinary arts. Yeah, so let me add an asterisk to that. He had to take culinary arts because he needed an elective at some point in his degree program, and he was in the last semester of his degree program, and that was the only elective that the school was offering at the time that would have been applicable for what he needed to do. So he had no choice, but that's only because he put it off so long. I didn't understand a thing of what you just said. Okay, so in the US, we have these things called electives, and that's where you have to choose a multidisciplinary class to study for a semester. But it's your choice, like it can be various different subjects. Sometimes the electives have to be related to a certain type of subject. Sometimes they can just truly be a random ass class that you're just interested in. And for him, the culinary arts was an elective. He had to elect to take it. But it was kind of picked for him because he had no choice. Austria's still better. This guy. But no, Alphonse, I think that what we were just talking about before that you responded to with the national taxes, I think that here's something that as Europeans, I think that you guys can understand, but maybe can't conceptualize, because I think you guys deal with it on a daily basis, but you might not realize how similar it is over here in the United States. So over here in the US, we have state laws and then we have federal laws. Okay? So each individual state has its own constitution, even. Like Pennsylvania, where I live, we have our own state constitution, our own state Congress, our own state Supreme Court. We have our own state, our executive branch, which is our governor. So each state has its own, essentially, country government. Like each state in the US functions as its own country. And then you have a super country, a super government above called the federal government, and that has rules that apply to all of the states unless they're unconstitutional at a federal level. I was going to say, yeah, Alphonse, I would consider the European Union being similar to the federal government of the United States. It's not as crazy as for you. Yeah, like, I mean, dude, the US is still like the Wild West experiment of what a democracy can be, to be honest with you. Like, the union of states that we have crafted is very strange compared to other countries worldwide. Very strange. And I think that a lot of people in Europe, when they criticize the United States for, like, for example, I know a lot of more progressive Europeans, they're like, oh my God, how is abortion not just legal electively at all times? Like, what happened? Like, what do you mean? And they get this impression that across the whole US, you just can't get access to abortions anywhere. But the thing is, that's only a few key shithole states. Okay? Like, all of the things that Europeans hear that are horrible about the US are like the shithole states. It would be like, imagine I take an Eastern Bloc country from Europe and I just assume that that's what all of Europe is. That's what you're doing when you assume that something's the same throughout the entire US. Well, that's why it's so difficult, Nick. It's really difficult. Like, for example, me, I consider myself a bit of an HR expert at this point. I mean, I have the degree and everything. But I can only truly say that I'm an expert on the laws of 3 states and maybe a fourth. I'm like intermediate on a fourth. That's a slippery slope. I was just pulling a random example out, Alphonse. I wasn't trying to give a super definitive thing, but like even Europeans have this idea of food in the United States being like a block. Like everyone's eating cheeseburgers, everyone's eating briskets, everyone's eating steaks, everyone's eating ribs, everyone's eating barbecue. Like that's just the European idea for a lot of European people that I talk to, at least, about what all of the Americans diet looks like. But it's just not accurate. That's mostly just the shithole states. Yeah, I know, Alphonse. The problem is that I think Europeans hear like what 5% of Americans are saying, and they generalize that to the rest of Americans. That's what I feel. And I think that Americans do it to Europeans too. Let me make myself clear here. But yeah, Nick, I agree. We are calling out very obvious problems, and we do know why they won't be solved. However, I will tell you, I actually do somewhat support the state legal system. Okay, so I do like that the states function as their own separate little countries because we have something in the US that isn't possible in most legal systems, like as a nation, and we have something that we can call test tube states. It's kind of an approach to governing that we take here in the US, where, like, for example, Massachusetts, let's just say, they can roll out a really progressive law out of nowhere, and we can see what it does, and we can test it in that state and see if it works. And then if it works, the federal government can pick it up and throw it across the entire country, and now everyone has that. Okay. So it can work really well for multiple reasons, but there's also a lot of cons as well. At the end of the day, the people in charge of these things have it in their best interest not to inform their common population to the extent we're arguing here, because if you tell people their rights, then they want them enforced. Sure, I agree with you, but that doesn't... I'm not telling you whether or not my plans will come to fruition. I'm telling you what I want and what my opinion is. I think that's still important. I think it's important to still say how stupid and bullshit this is, even if it doesn't change anything. I wonder who are the Americans more loyal towards the state or the federal government? That's a very easy question to answer. The conservative Republicans are the most loyal to the states' rights system, and the Democrat liberals are more loyal to a federal government system. We have to keep probability and possibility in mind. Yeah, that's what, like, dude, I'm not even spilling the full sauce of what I would really like to do as a nation. Because I'm only talking about what I think would be reasonably possible to accomplish within the next 75 years. Like the thing that I think a lot of Americans get is like a blowback effect, because for example, Americans aren't afraid to vote for progress. They're not afraid to vote for progressives, but Americans, they have really, really short memories. Okay, like for example, you might get somebody in place like a left person, and they might start pushing really good policies, but one bad thing happened during their presidency, and they just abandon progressives completely. They have really, really, really bad hindsight here in the United States. The average median voter does. Tax the rich? Yeah, I want to tax the rich. And I know that that's possible, and I know that it's probable because the United States used to do it and do it better than everyone. Here's a fun thing, guys. I don't know if you know this or not, but back in like the 50s and 60s, people who were making over $1 million were paying 90% as their tax rate after $1 million. Yeah, it was in the 50s and 60s. You're right. But the thing is, it keeps progressively getting worse. But the thing is, I know that it's possible for us to pass that kind of legislation because we have before. It has happened. And it's important not to lose sight of the fact that this has been the case. And it wasn't even that long ago that it was the case. Which means that we can do it. We can do it again. You just have to be willing to fight really fucking hard for it. Oh, well, that sucks. That sounds like a Dutch problem because that's the opposite of what happened over here. I mean, the welfare system in the United States got fucked. And it got fucked originally by the people who created it back in the 50s and 60s. Like, it was fucked up from the very beginning. Not because we were giving welfare. I support welfare program, like really extensive welfare and social safety net programs. But the problem with the US system is that you lose all of your benefits at once. For the most part. Like, for example, let's say you're on benefits and those benefits per year are worth about $30,000 per year. Okay? But if you make $25,000 per year, you lose all $30,000 of those benefits all at once the second you hit that income. Like, it's not staggered. You don't lose just a little bit as you get closer to the goal. You just lose it all at once. So people are inherently incentivized to not work as hard, to not make as much money, to stay poor. When rich people pay less tax or evade them, the only thing they can spend money on is investing in a property. So they buy up everything, and the common people now have to outspend super rich people, which they cannot do. 100% absolutely perfectly explain the housing problem in the United States right there. But the problem in the United States is a little bit more complicated because it's not that super rich people are buying all of the existing property, which is a problem. But the bigger problem in the United States is that we just aren't building up any more supply of housing. Like, there's just no supply. Nobody is building any of it. And that's because people stopped subsidizing the building of houses in neighborhoods. So they're like for low income people. So there's just no incentive for big companies to build these gigantic neighborhoods anymore like they used to from the 50s to the 2000s because the government stopped paying them to do it. What I strongly support, and this is a take I'm willing to die on, even if it's a hot take. I think that the government should literally take a huge amount of taxpayer dollars and give it in a subsidy, an earmarked subsidy that says they have to do certain things to real estate developers for the purpose of building more low-income housing. Why did they stop subsidizing? Because then they can just have more money to themselves. What do you mean, why? Okay, so the real reason that they stopped subsidizing, Nick, let me stop being pedantic and actually answer your question. This is just something I'm passionate about. George Bush, in the year 2000, when he won the election and took over office, we had a huge surplus in the United States from Clinton's administration because our economy exploded with the tech bubble. So we had a shitload of extra money. And Bush decided to pass tax cuts at the time. Instead of keeping a surplus, he wanted to spend that surplus, giving it back to the people and lowering taxes. The problem is that in order to keep us from going under completely, some things had to be cut in order for us to cut taxes. And one of the things that gets cut is business subsidies, real estate subsidies, welfare programs, social safety nets, education subsidies, research subsidies. All of these things that you don't really think about on a daily basis have to be cut in order for us to lower people's taxes. So in reality, these tax cuts are more of a punishment, a bad thing, than they are a helpful thing. They harm society to cut taxes, as crazy as that might sound. A long-term negative effect for short-term popularity. Precisely. Precisely. And the thing with these tax cuts is that it was for a shitload of money. And it's also when the taxes on the rich got lowered. I feel like really, when I say he decreased taxes, he cut taxes, I mean like really cut taxes. Yeah, I mean totally, Alphonse. You're 100% right. Yeah, no, Alphonse, you're totally right. That's exactly why most politicians are so short-sighted. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't expect higher things of them. It doesn't mean we shouldn't advocate for better behavior from them. Very important that we don't shut up. No, they totally don't, Alphonse. I completely agree with you. The boomers in the United States have caused so many economic problems for the preceding generations that it's absurd. They got all of the benefits of a very robust social welfare system. They took advantage of all of those things. They then proceeded to work and then eventually start taking advantage of social security programs and other social welfare programs that we have in the United States. And as a block, every time that they have finished using a social welfare system, they vote to get rid of it because they're done with it. Like, for example, in the US, way back in the day, in like the 50s and 60s, when the boomers were going to elementary, middle, and high school, everything was provided to them for the most part. Like they could have notebooks, textbooks, everything was very ready and easily accessible for them. It was great. And then after they graduate high school, they're like, okay, let's vote against subsidizing school as much. Who needs education now that we've gotten one? And then they go to college, and there's a huge subsidized education system where college is practically 2 peanuts and a bag of fucking oranges in order to go to college when they're in college. And then they graduate, and you know what? Let's vote to get rid of this. And every single time that they've taken advantage of a social welfare program, they've then proceeded to get rid of it with their votes. So, you know how it is. People love the shit on millennials, but it's that generation that will take the hit, so Gen Z and X will get a better life. You mean Gen Z and Alpha, not X. Gen X came before millennials. What's stopping the coming generation of politicians to also only think of their short term in office? Well, that's what they're gonna do, Nick. Like that's the thing. Yeah, it's called Alpha now. Gen Alpha. And also, technically speaking, Alphonse, I'm Gen Z. Technically speaking, I am the first year of Gen Z. I keep forgetting the alphas. I am 30 years old, born in 1995, the first year of Gen Z. Nope, you're 3 years older than me, Alphonse. Tough luck. Haha, millennial. Technically speaking, we're considered part of a micro generation, both of us, called Zillennials, where we're kind of in between the two. You damn Gen Z. No. No! Alright, guys. I have really thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, but it's very late now, and I gotta get out of here. Though I will tell you, I really want to start making more political content. I might even do some debate streams sometime soon. Yes, very late now. When the world turns to shit, I have not objections to eating people like Gen Z. Bro, I didn't even do nothing. With some credit, I do. I appreciate my audience of loyal fans. It's fantastic. But yeah, I get fired up about this kind of stuff. So I'm gonna go chill out and then go to bed. So have a nice night, everybody. Remember, I love each and every single one of you, and I hope that you had a fantastic evening. And of course,